Greetings to my viewers. My name is Mr. Alex British Tasie. I am from Ikwerre village in Ikwerre community, which is in Ikwerre local government area of Rivers State of Nigeria. And by the grace of God, I am a creative writer, a historian, a musician, and a filmmaker. I want to bring to you an interesting topic which has always featured in so many historical discussions, and debates, especially around Ikwerre. I want to bring to you a topic that so many people are curious to know about, and that topic is the one that deals with the origin of Ikwerre people, where Ikwerre people came from, where they migrated from, the place of their first birth, where they pulled out from to settle at the place we find them today. How they sprouted out, how they came to be. That is the topic that I want to treat. So many people are curious to know how Ikwerre evolved, where Ikwerre people migrated from. They are very, very interested to know how they came to be and how they settled here, called Ikwerre land. And I think that as a scholar, as an author of many books, as the most pronounced Ikwerre historian, I am eminently qualified to discuss this matter. I am eminently qualified to treat the context and nature of Ikwerre origin. As someone who has done enough research on Ikwerre, I think I am qualified to do that. As a historian, it behoves of me to appropriately, or even if not appropriately, but to near appropriately, treat this matter, place this context in the situation, in a premise that it should supposed to be. So that is what I want to discuss with you here. In the year 1982 or 83, thereabout, Obako Ikwerre Cultural Organization, the apex socio-cultural organization of Ikwerre people, set up a research committee to research, among other things, the origin of Ikwerre people, where they migrated from, where they came from, where their ancestors came from to settle here, or to settle where they are today. Other independent researchers also went to work, apart from the researchers that Obako Ikwerre set up. In the end, about 2 or 3 versions of origin, theories of origin, schools of thought of the origin of Ikwerre people crystallized and emerged. And one of them, appears to be prominent, the most prominent of the 3, and that is the one that links Ikwerre to Benin Empire. That is the Benin connection, which means that Ikwerre people migrated from Benin to come to where they are today. You know, that is how it happened. That was in the year 1982 or 83. You know, that's period. They looked at it that there are arguments, you know, surrounding the historical nature of Ikwerre people, especially that of their origin, and they deemed it fit. Ikwerre deemed it fit, you know, to, you know, sponsor a research project into this crucial matter, you know. And as I have said, the Benin connection appears to have become accepted by a majority of Ikwerre people. That is one that they have accepted, you know. It is not the responsibility, you know, the right of an outsider who is not an Ikwerre person to tell or write the history of Ikwerre people. It is not always a professional and a standard thing to do, you know, without bringing into cognizance the contributions of the people who own the land themselves. If an outsider, you know, must have to write or talk about Ikwerre in any angle, that outsider, you know, whether a writer, an anthropologist, a historian, must have to largely depend on what the indigenous of the land will have to say or tell concerning their past, whether it is going to be achieved through law, folklore, you know, whether it is going to be achieved from whatever medium. It is what they say themselves, what they tell the outsider that he or she will document. The outsider will not have the liberty, you know, to just write whatever he or she feels about Ikwerre people. For example, now I go to Ogoniland or go to Ikwerre and begin to talk about their origin and some of their histories, you know, without having my primary sources from the indigenous themselves, you know. Whatever that I'm going to write or tell will make no meaning, because I am going to write what their ancestors, what their forefathers, what their forebears told them, what they handed down to them as their history. That is what the outsider will take, you know. There are about 3 versions of origin in Ikwerre land. 3 schools of thought concerning the origin of Ikwerre people. 3 theories of origin of Ikwerre people that exist and subsist. You know, they are there because researchers looked at them, assessed them, evaluated them, and summed up them as theories of the migration of Ikwerre people there. Whatever that I am going to say here is something that will have no historical certification, no historical substantiality, no historical basis, because it is, you know, categorized in the area of history called long distant past. Long distant past. In history, we have categories of defining the past, the events and incidents of the past. We have the long distant past. We have the short distance past. We also have the immediate past. And of course, quite fortunately for us, the incidents, records, and events of the short immediate past always have records, to substantiate them, to back them up, But that of the long distant past, incidents, events, that happened when nobody is sure of them. When there were no eyewitnesses, no documented records, and in fact, no living witnesses, to support such claims. It will now become very, very vague to treat. The origin of Ikwerre people presently is emerged, is enveloped and shrouded in confusion, in myth, and there is some form of debate around it, because people still argue. They have not settled their minds on where Ikwerre people, came from, where they arrived from to settle at the place they are today. So it is something that has no historical certification, because nobody was there when it happened. Nobody saw it. Nobody is sure. And that's, quite unfortunately, is the situation with the historical nature of almost every tribe in the world. No tribe in this world can definitely and appropriately establish its origin. No tribe, no group of people in this world can definitely, say this is where our ancestors came from. That is where our ancestors emerged from. Nobody knows whether in this part of the world, in the Oriental nations or in the Western world, nobody is sure. What people have resorted to is to use a tool in history and in science, to fill in the gap, to fill in the void in history. When there is no leeway, no headway to discuss and know about the events of the past, people now begin to look for solutions. And one of the solutions that human beings have crafted, coined out, created, to treat the events of the past that they are not familiar with, that there are no evidences, no records to back them, is what we call using the tool called a historical hypothesis. A historical hypothesis is no history at all, because it is in between truth and lie. It is something that it is crafted, created, to link, the space, the empty space in history. That is the work of a historical hypothesis. And what is a hypothesis in science, in social science, in philosophy? A historical hypothesis is one, that guesses, supposes, presumes, and something that is to guess, to assume, to presume that something happened this way or that way. When people find themselves in mental lethargy, mental exasperation, when there is no headway to deal with events and incidents of the past, people resort to what is called a historical hypothesis. And of course, that there is nothing anybody can do about it, because when you begin to treat a matter that nobody knows its foundation, how can you now, how can you substantiate what you are going to say? There is nothing you can do about it other than fit in the gap with lies or with truth, anyone you can, but you must say something. You must explain something. When people find themselves, discussing events that are not explainable, they want to explain it. They want to explain them. They want to talk about them. So now they resort to a historical hypothesis to deal with it. And that, as I have said, is unfortunately the situation of almost every ethnic group in the world. People can say, we came from here, we came from there, but they cannot verify those claims. They cannot substantiate those claims. They cannot prove them, beyond any reasonable doubt. So they just say it and hang it there. If you accept, it's your business. If you don't accept, it's also your business. So that is the historical nature of Ikwerre people at the moment. It is in a state that I call, a historical ambiguity. It is in a state of historical inexactness. The situation is still vague, waiting for further historical studies and researches, to truly, if there will be a time to truly, unravel the mystery surrounding the historical nature of Ikwerre people, especially as that of their migration from anywhere, but as I've said, three versions subsist today. One of the versions is the one that links Ikwerre to Benin. Ikwerre people say that they came from Benin Empire. In unanimity, in agreement, about 95% of Ikwerre people say that they came from Benin, that their ancestors, the founding fathers of Ikwerre land, arrived from Benin to settle, at the place they find them today. That is their story. Whether they are potent, germane substances in the matter or not, especially that of language similarity, customs and other traditions, coming to be symbiotic about this matter. It's not the matter here, but that is what they say concerning where their founding fathers came from. And of course, Ikwerre people are not the only people in this part of the Niger area, that say that they came from Benin. They are not the only people. When I undertook a historical journey to Obi the Agba in present-day Imo State. When I presented my questionnaires, to some of the older people in the community, asking them the question of where they came from. The people that I interviewed told me that they came from Abo in Delta State, and that is outside the present-day southeastern geopolitical zone in Nigeria. The Sokas, trace their own origin to Eda and Igala. That is outside that. But those who say that they came from Benin are so many. Ikwerre is one of them. The Oba, the Ebeye, the Oguta people, the Anioma, Aniocha, the Onichas, whether Onichugo, Onicholona, and all that. The Abo, the Kwale people, the Ogwashuku people, all say that they came from Benin, the old Benin Empire. That is what all of them say. So Ikwerre people are not the only people in this part of the Niger area, that say that they came from Benin area. There was one book that was prominent. I don't think that book is still there this time. It's almost in extinct. In the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, that book was really around and prominent. And it is called Igbo Premier, known as Azundo. It was that premier that, exposed the pattern of migration, of various ethnic groups, from the old Benin Empire. It was that book that highlighted the exodus, the mass exodus that took place in Benin land in the 1400s, when the despotic ruler of that empire, known as Oba Ikwerre II, I think so, was in charge of the administration, political administration of Benin Empire at the time. So many reasons have been given why these ethnic groups ran away from Benin. Some say it was because of the despotic nature of the rule, of the Oba, the misrule of the Oba at the time. Some also, take it to mean that because of the stubbornness, insolence, impertinence, of some of the members of those ethnic groups, that made them, when the Oba wanted to marshal out, punishments to them, they ran away. Some also claim and say that some of them plotted to assassinate the Oba, and take over. And the Oba found out, and they penalized some of them. They escaped and ran away. So many reasons have been offered why, these groups pulled out from the old Benin Empire. The Onitsha person, the Oguta person, the Anyoma, Anyocha, Abo, Kwale, Ogwashuku, Ikwerre, Oba, Ebeye, and so many others, see themselves as migrants from the old Benin Empire. So it is not only the Ikwerre people who say and hold that they came from Benin Empire. So that is the position of so many other ethnic groups.